Hi, my name is Dr. Kate Grindon. I am the PD provider for national boards for Jefferson County Public Schools. And in this video, we're going to review some information from the candidate information sessions in case you weren't able to attend. So, the four things we're going to look at today are: what is national board certification? What are some of the details pertaining to eligibility, certificate areas, fees, registration, and the components? What does the initial certification process involve, and what supports are available as I achieve certification? So, to begin with, National Board Certification is a completely voluntary process. It is performance based, it is peer reviewed for teachers by teachers, meaning that the people who are going to review your work are other teachers in your certificate area. And as often as possible, specifically nationally board certified teachers in your certificate area. It is extremely reflective. It recognizes the complex nature of teaching and ongoing improvement, and it reflects advanced content knowledge and teaching skills. Why should you certify? Well, it is recognized in all 50 states. And what that means is if you ever were to leave Kentucky, most other states will give you almost a fast pass to getting certified in their state if you have national board certification, because all 50 states recognize that this is the premier bar for certification of teachers. There's also research that shows the impact on student learning that says that students who are in the classroom of a nationally board certified teacher achieve more in a shorter amount of time than students who are in non-NBCT classrooms. It is valued by parents and administrators. Many jobs, even within JCPS, list national board certification as a desired characteristic in the job list. And finally, because there's money involved. In Kentucky, if you already have your master's or your rank 2, national board certification will get you your rank 1. If you do not have a master's or your rank 2, it will get you rank 2. So whatever rank you are, it will give you a rank bump up to rank 1. There is also a $2,000 yearly stipend as long as you maintain your certification. And if you are working, either teaching or coaching in your certification area, at least 50% of the time. That's because that's a current state law. So, of course, that could change as laws sometimes do. But currently, there is a $2,000 yearly stipend. That is, of course, pre-tax. But every spring or early summer, you will get an extra check for about $1,600. So let's talk details. Who can become a nationally board certified teacher? Well, you have to possess a bachelor's degree from an accredited institution. If you are pursuing certification in CTE, there is some wiggle room there because often CTE teachers come from industry and not from a university background. So there is some wiggle room there. You have to have completed at least 3 years of successful teaching at one or more early childhood, elementary, middle, or secondary schools. This is to certify. You do not have to have completed 3 years in order to begin the process, but you do have to have at least 3 years under your belt in order to certify. And you have to have proof of holding an unencumbered state teaching license for each of those 3 years that you completed. There are 25 different certificate areas, different developmental levels of students and content areas. One of the quirks of this process is that we talk in ages. We do not talk in grades. And this is because this is a national system. And just because we have middle schools and most middle schools start with sixth graders who are a certain age here in Kentucky, maybe in Alaska they do it differently. Maybe they have junior highs instead of middle schools. Maybe their kids start earlier or later than ours do. So the only way to standardize this across the country is to base it on ages of the kids. If you are not sure, there is a Choosing the Right Certificate PDF. If you Google National Board Certification Choosing the Right Certificate, this PDF will pop up, and that will give you a little extra guidance. The certificate areas that they certify in are the following. Some of these are going to be K-12. Like for instance, I believe library media is K-12. Art has 2 areas of distinction, 2 developmental levels. one, which is, I think, ages 5 to 11 or something like that. And then I think the other one is 10 to 18 plus. So they split it halfway. Some of them, like science, social studies, math, and English, are only available in the secondary years. So basically, in Kentucky, we would call that middle or high school. Others, like the generalist one, is only available in the elementary years. So generalist, they split that. There's early childhood generalist and middle childhood generalist. We would technically or usually think of those as like primary grades, intermediate grades. But again, this is all based on the ages of kids, and there is going to be some overlap. So, for instance, in mathematics, you can be early adolescent, which I believe is ages 10 to 15, or you can be adolescent and young adult, which is 14 to 18. So, if you teach 14-year-olds, you can either do the early adolescent or the adolescent. It's up to you. This is one of the things to consider when you're choosing your certificate area. Are you probably going to stay in a middle school, or are you probably going to be in a high school? If you are right on that cusp and you're going back and forth between the two, if you want to keep your stipend, remember that you have to be teaching 50% of your kids, or for 50% of the time, students in your certificate area. So if you certify while you are in middle school and then you move to a high school, you would need to make sure that at least half of your teaching load are freshmen, because they would still qualify for that age range. So let's talk about what you have to do in order to get certified. There are 4 components to certification, 4 things that you're going to submit. And each component focuses on a specific thing, and each component uses specific evidence in order to address your competency in that one component. So component 1 is all about content knowledge. And this is showing your ability to know your content and to know pedagogy around that content. The evidence for that component is a test. So you go, it's an assessment test, just like when you took the GRE, just like when you took the Praxis. So there are multiple choice questions as well as 3 short answer questions. You will take that all at once. It takes about 3.5 hours to do that. The second component is all about differentiation. The evidence you provide for that are packets of student work, along with some intensive analysis from you about what you're seeing, what you do, why you do it, and the effect of what you've done for those kids. A side note is that if you are getting one of the music certificates, there is no packet of student work for that, so you would submit videos. The third component is all about the learning environment, and the evidence you're going to provide for that are, again, 2 videos, just like if you were in music for component 2, 2 videos that show your classroom, your teaching, your interaction with kids, and kids' interaction with each other, along with some significant analysis about, again, what you're doing, why you're doing it, the impact you're having on kids. And finally, component 4 is all about being a reflective and effective practitioner. So there are a lot of moving parts to this one, but you're going to provide student work as evidence. You're going to provide assessments that you create as evidence. And you're also going to provide evidence of your own professional learning for this one. Again, with lots of analysis as to what you did and why you did it and the effect that that has on your kids. So let's talk about the big picture here. National Boards uses what I call a choose your own adventure model. These 4 components all have to be completed and all have to score high enough to eventually certify you. However, you do not have to take them all or do them all at once. You have 3 years to do each of them for the first time, or to attempt all 4 of the components. You can take them in any order you want. You can do 2 of them at the same time, and then 2 of them a year later. You can do 3 1 year, 1 year. It's really up to you. You also can take them in any order you want. So you can start with component 4 if you want. It doesn't matter. You have 3 years to attempt all 4, meaning take it the first time, but then you have 5 years to achieve certification. And the reason that those 2 numbers aren't the same is because you can retake each component. So let's say that you take a component, you submit it, you don't like your score on it, you don't get a high enough score, you can redo it. You have 2 retake chances for each component, meaning a total of 3 chances for each component. They will take the highest score. You can take a year off as long as the above timeline is met. It is okay to take a year off in the middle there and not submit a component. There are no minimum or maximum retake requirements. Their national boards is not going to tell you you should redo this one, you have to redo this one, you should keep this one. It's your decision if you want to try again for a higher score. The one caveat to that is that national boards will not let you count a component towards your final score if you do not achieve a score of 1.75. So we call that the floor score. You have to achieve at least a 1.75 on a component in order for it to count towards your total. So now let's talk about money. Each year that you are a candidate, there is a non-refundable $75 registration fee. In addition, just like you choose the timeline for when you take each component, payment is part of that. So each component is $475, but you only pay as you take them. So you do not have to pay for everything all at once. You pay as you go. That's particularly helpful if you think, well, I don't have $2,000 all at once to hand over. You don't have to. Another important thing to know is that National Boards has an interest-free payment plan system. So if you tell them, I'd like to take these 2 components, they will let you pay a set amount each month over the course of the school year until you've paid off your total. That is completely interest-free. There's no fee for that. They're just trying to make sure that you are able to pay that off by the time you submit. You can, of course, like I said, retake a component if you're not happy with your score. Components 2, 3, and 4 are also $475. It's a flat rate. Every time you take a component, it's $475. The reason component 1 is different is that the first time you take it, you have to take all of the multiple choice and all the short answer at the same time. You're all in, and that costs $475. However, when you go to retake component 1, you don't have to do everything. So you can choose, I just want to retake the multiple choice. That would be $125. You can also choose, I just want to take essay question number 3, or I want to retake essay questions 1 and 3, or just 1 and 2. You get the picture. Each section is $125. So some specifics. The registration window usually opens around April each spring, and it runs until February of the following school year. Most people register in the summer or fall of the year they're going to submit a component. So as you can see, many dates on here say February 28th. So that's really the big deadline, is to make sure that you have registered and you paid all your money by February 28th. If you want to change your certificate or you change your mind about which components you're doing, that's also February 28th. If you decide you want to withdraw completely, that's also February 28th. The portfolio submission window, and this would be for components 2, 3, and 4, that opens on April 1st of each year, and that closes mid-May of each year. Often it's May 15th, but sometimes it's a little bit plus or minus that, but it's mid-May of each year. Component 1 testing window is much wider because you have to go to one of the Pearson testing sites, sign up for that, find a time that they have available. You sit down at the computer in one of those, kind of windowless rooms. And so there's more flexibility for that because you have to find a time that Pearson has available. And so this is usually open from March 1st to June 15th every year. There is lots of support available. And we've got financial support and professional learning support. So first, we're going to talk about the professional learning. The first kind of support we have is mentoring cohorts. We also offer PD sessions. There are also release days for National Board prep. There's a caveat for that, which we'll talk about in a second. And then there are some professional resources that JCPS provides. So first, a mentoring cohort. If you decide to join a cohort, you get up to 25 hours of professional learning within a cohort model. So this is you and other candidates working with a nationally board certified teacher who is your facilitator. Okay. This is not necessarily a time for the facilitator to teach you things. This is more facilitated review, feedback, workshop time for you as a candidate to work collaboratively with other candidates and have someone who has already been through this process there to support you and push you. One of the benefits of this is that if you are a member of a cohort, you stay up to date a little bit faster if there are changes with requirements and dedication, documentation, things like that. The goal is to provide preparation assistance for components 2, 3, and 4 because those are the portfolio components. Most importantly, it creates a network of support with the other candidates. People, I think, sometimes assume that the facilitator, the National Board Certified Teacher who is in your cohort, is going to be the source of most of the knowledge. And they are there to organize you, to push you, and absolutely to support you. But to be perfectly honest, most of the support is going to come from other candidates because they're the ones living and breathing this work just like you are. So your NBCT, who's there as a facilitator, might not have gone through the process within the last 5 years. So they are absolutely there to be a sounding board and to support you, but they're not going to know the nitty gritty of these components in the same way that another candidate will. There are core propositions that kind of guide the essence of what being a national board certified teacher is all about. And number 5 is that teachers are members of learning communities. So this is a thing that national board values, the idea of working collaboratively. So we do encourage you to join a cohort, although of course it's not required. There also sometimes are candidate release days. And the deal with this is when there are enough subs in the system, JCPS will pay for 1 sub day per component purchased. So if you decide to do component 1 and component 3 in a given year, they will pay for 2 sub days for you so that you don't have to take a personal day to work on things or to go take the test, and your school doesn't have to pay for that. There are some requirements like you see here. You have to submit a professional leave form. You have to get approval from your principal, things like that. All of this paperwork and how to do this is handled by the Jefferson County Professional Development and Learning Office. This is on a year-to-year basis. So some years HR says that there are enough subs in the system and the system can handle this, and they approve national board release days. Some years they put a freeze on it and they say we do not have the capacity to support this, and so no national board release days will be honored. So on a year-to-year basis, you have to check with the PD&L office or with HR to verify if this is a thing that's going to happen each year or not. There are also 2 books that JCPS provides. Both are by Bobby Faulkner, who is an NBCT herself. It's Successful Strategies for Pursuing National Board Certification, and she's broken it up into 2 volumes, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Also, there are PD opportunities. An outside opportunity comes from KEA, and they do a variety of sessions, one called Jumpstart at the beginning, one called Homestretch at the end of the cycle. There are fees associated with this. If you are a KEA member, of course, those fees are lower, but they still exist. You can get PD credit if you'd like. You have to submit a certificate of attendance and do some paperwork with the Professional Development and Learning Office, so make sure you talk to them if you would like credit for attending. There is also PD offered within Jefferson County itself, and this is free to you as a Jefferson County candidate. These are all offered by me. Every year I do a couple of orientation sessions. So this is the information from one of the orientation sessions. Then I offer 2 sessions called Getting Started with National Board Candidacy. I do a session on preparing for component 2, a session on preparing for component 3, a session on understanding component 4. I do 2 sessions on writing because writing for your certification is unique and different to the way most people have written in the past. And it's really important to understand some of the tricks for how to do that in order to score well. In the spring, I do a preparing for component 1 session. And then I also do 2 peer review sessions in the spring to help people get fresh eyes on your work and focus in on what is most important before you submit. So the specific dates each year are listed on the Professional Development and Learning website and also on my website, which is kategrandin.com. And you can register for all JCPS sessions on the Vector system. There is PD credit available. There's also money available. So Jefferson County is divided into different tiers of schools. So you can be a tier or a level 1, 2, or 3. If you are a level 1 school, that is a school that the district has determined for a variety of reasons needs the least amount of support. So if you are at a tier 1 school, there is some financial support for going through national boards. First of all, it is always going to be reimbursement, not payment. The candidate themselves has to put the money up front, and then you get reimbursed afterwards. You must certify in order to get anything reimbursed, and you must complete 4 years in JCPS after certification. After 4 years, though, JCPS will pay 60% of each of the 4 components to acknowledge and recognize you for going through this process. The Professional Development and Learning Office is in charge of all paperwork and reimbursement. So you would need to talk to them about the details regarding what they need from you and what the process looks like for that. Now, if you are a tier or level 2 or 3 schools, which are schools that the district has determined need a little bit more support, it's slightly different. Still, it's reimbursement. It's still not payment. You still have to certify for any of this to come into play. You must teach at a level 2 or 3 school for 3 full years after certification. But if you certify at a level 2 or 3 school and then you stay there for 3 years, JCPS will pay 100% of each of the 4 component fees. JCPS will also pay 100% of the maintenance of certification fees. Every few years, it's every 5 years after you certify, you have to go through a process called maintenance of certification in order to keep being an NBCT. It is significantly less work than initial certification. Also, you have to provide documentation, of course, and the PD&L office is in charge of paperwork and reimbursement. So, what do they need? This is something that, even though it's many years in the future, you need to be aware of now because you want to keep a copy of some of these things. When you purchase a component from NBPTS, you want to take a screenshot and print that out from the payment system on their website, showing that you have purchased a particular component. Then you want to provide proof of payment. This could be your bank card statement or a credit card statement. So the month that you've paid that off, you want to have a statement that shows that you paid NBPTS a certain amount of money. And then at the very end, you will get a brief letter from the CEO of National Boards saying, "Congratulations, you certified. We're so proud of you." You want to keep a copy of that as well, so you can submit that as proof that you in fact have certified. So if you are ready to sign up, you are going to want to complete the candidate information Google form that you can get from the PD&L office, and I'll show you some of the contact information for them in just a second. You can also go right ahead and register at National Boards. And National Boards website is nbpts.org. And there's a place at the top called Log In, and that's where you start your process, or you can just go to /log-in. Pay your $75 registration fee, select the components you want to complete, and then by February 28th, make sure you've paid all your money. Also, you have some homework that you can start getting to work on. You need to download, organize, and read the standards and the rubrics for your certificate area multiple times. Those are all on the National Board website. All of that is available even before you pay any money. There is no paywall there. So find the standards, find the rubrics. The rubrics are in the component instructions for each particular component. You're going to want to start reading, highlighting those, If you are a paper person, if you like hard copies of things, you're going to want to print those out and start highlighting with real highlighters. If you are a digital person, you're still going to want to download those and start highlighting online. Decide if you want to participate in a JCPS mentoring cohort. Communicate regularly with your facilitator if you are in a cohort and with the JCPS PD&L office. And if you're interested, register for some of the PD opportunities on Vector. If you are interested in learning more, here are some websites and contact information. So nationalboards.org, 1-800-22-TEACH is their hotline. KEA.org is where you can look for some of their sessions. There is a Kentucky National Board Teacher Network, which is very active on social media. The JCPS PD&L office, the current contact for national boards is Dr. Sarah Bumpus. Her email is right there. If you would like more information from this PD or have a question around the information presented in this video, that is my website and my information, my email information. So I hope this was helpful. If you are interested in becoming a candidate, I hope to see you at one of the PD sessions this year, and best of luck with your candidacy.